Okay. Okay. Welcome, whoever's on WebEx to our meeting. Tonight, unfortunately, Mr. Dudalla has resigned from the board. In a very brief statement to me, he said that his schedule would not allow him to participate. So he actually resigned from the board. Mr. Mers is with family tonight and unable to attend the meeting. I expect a few more people to come in. So where's Melissa? And we're waiting for Catherine, who will be coming up online. Welcome, everyone. For our visitors tonight, the restrooms for the men are out the door to the left, for the ladies out the door to the left on this side. Keys are up here, so please come up and use the keys. First in our order, we had the Honolulu Fire Department. I don't see any fire department members here, so we'll go on. Officer Yamamoto could not be here with us tonight for the community policing briefing, but we have Lieutenant Arita, who's going to be our regular Honolulu Police Department representative. Lieutenant, go right ahead. He's been with us since he was promoted to sergeant and then promoted to lieutenant, and is very familiar with Waikiki.
Hi, aloha. So yeah, like Bob Finley said, I'm Lieutenant Arita. I've been in district for about 14 years. I started off as an officer working first watch, which is our overnight watch, day watch, and third watch. I was on our ATP detail. I got promoted. I was a sergeant in our community policing team, bike detail, our foot patrol, and our misdemeanor follow-up detail. And now I'm promoted to lieutenant. I'm our administrative lieutenant, and I'm also sometimes the acting captain. So I'll be your regular face. So hopefully you guys get to know me. And I didn't bring my card, but if anyone has any questions or anything like that, take down my email. It's barita@honolulu.gov. Any questions you guys got about what we're doing out there, any type of issues you guys have, you can contact me directly. I'll see to it that I follow up and I can get, answer you guys' questions to the best of my ability. But I'm basically the major, the captain, and then there's me. So I'm your best voice that I'm gonna answer all your guys' questions. But this month, so for robberies, we had 4 robberies, 9 burglaries, 164 thefts, 16 car break-ins, unauthorized entry to motor vehicles, 31 assaults, 3 sex crimes, 7 speeding, 1,999 parking, 1 loud muffler, and 27 park closure citations. Total calls for service is 4,500. And those are just whatever stats that we're required to give. But one of the things that I want to highlight was our community concern projects that we started in District 6. And it's actually every district is supposed to do this, but we're starting it up. It's part of our chief's plan, our chief's vision for the department. And in the first quarter of the year, for our Sector 1 area, which is from basically Alawai Boat Harbor, Seaside, Royal Hawaiian, everything from basically Royal Hawaiian, Eva bound. Our main community concern project was loading zone violations, because we got a lot of complaints from businesses, community members about the parking, the traffic, everything like that. And in our Sector 2, which is everything Diamond Head bound of Royal Hawaiian Avenue, we had a lot of complaints from about Kapahulu Avenue, because there's a motor vehicle fatality on the upper side of Kapahulu. And also we've been getting complaints from residents and people that live at the Waikiki Grand regarding unsafe pedestrian, walkways, people speeding, a lot of parking violations. So we've been really focusing our efforts on that 24/7. So the results of our first quarter community concern project for Sector 1, which is the parking, was we issued 342 parking violations. And these are like loading zone violations, parking in unlawful area, pedestrian loading zone violations, 26 other miscellaneous citations. And in Sector 2, we did 246 moving violations, 295 parking violations, and 12 pedestrian citations. On top of just enforcement, we have meetings with the Department of Transportation Services regarding improving the area, especially in the Sector 2 area where we're trying to get the Kapalua Avenue area safer. So we met with DTS and we talked about putting a raised pedestrian crosswalk in front of Jefferson Elementary, for the kids going to and from school. Also looking at how in front of the Waikiki Grand, how we can make that crosswalk area shorter. So they're maybe increase the sidewalk area so pedestrians don't have to walk as far while crossing the street. And also putting lighted delineators between the lanes to kind of, make it more visible. And also putting in, we're looking into getting these speed signs where it not only tells you the speed, but it can collect data on how fast people are going, how many vehicles are coming to and from, and just kind of get us better information so we can focus our efforts on database kind of, reporting. As far as the increase in thefts, I would say, it was spring break. When I was doing a deep dive into the reports, a lot of it was ABC stores where, homeless people, but also just regular people that look like tourists. So, we're working with Waikiki Business Improvement District and ABC stores to kind of address this complaint. And my community tip is our honolulupd.org HPD data dashboard. So if you go to honolulupd.org, which anyone can do, you go to info and resources, go to the HPD data dashboard on the left-hand side. You can look up statistics for basically every district from violent crimes, property crimes, compare it yearly, monthly, and it gives you a lot of stats that basically goes further than the standardized stats that I'm giving you today. But, that's what I have. And other than that, I'm going to be here every month unless I'm on vacation. So hopefully you guys get used to seeing me and maybe sick of seeing me. So any questions?
Questions, Daniel?
Thanks, Lieutenant. Glad to hear that you'll be with us moving forward. I'm glad I got to give you a little preview of what I have to say. I believe the Honolulu Police Department, at least their presence in Waikiki, was just worthless. I'm going to tell a story that made me reach that conclusion about my father, who's had to tell the story too many times that he shouldn't have. It was 2 weeks ago, 9:45 in the morning. My dad is walking from Discovery Bay to Ala Moana Mall. He's halfway across the bridge on the Mauka side, and he's assaulted from behind by a homeless person. He's hit in the head. He goes to the ground. He's kicked multiple times in the ribs, and he has 2 broken ribs as he sits here tonight. He tried to call 911, and there was nobody able to take his call. Call back later is the answering machine. I know that's not you guys, but I'm really upset with you guys. Fortunately, there's a whole bunch of people around. 9:45 Saturday morning, headed to the mall. Someone must have called 911. There was witnesses that stuck around. Well, you couldn't get a hold of them. So someone else must have got a hold of them. 2 officers showed up, and to the credit of those 2 officers, my dad says that the one who took lead was very nice, but they took his report, and that was it. And now it's been over 2 weeks, and I know the answer, but do you think my father's heard back from the Honolulu Police Department? He hasn't. So knowing that you guys are worthless, at least when it comes to Waikiki, I took it upon myself and I went to the buildings along the Alawai and asked them for their security footage. 2 buildings had footage of my father. One of them says they've had footage of the assault. The security guard at that building told me, we can't send it to you, but send me some screenshots. We gave him the police report number, and he confirmed he sent it to the police department. That was a week and a half ago. Do you think my father has heard back since that video was submitted? He hasn't. And for my time on this board, I've been complaining about the muffler violations. You got 1 this month. And the excuse that I've heard consistently is, well, we don't have time for that. We're understaffed. And now I have to ask you, what is it you're doing with your time? If I have to go out and investigate the crimes, gather the evidence, and have it submitted in vain to the Honolulu Police Department, what good are you guys doing in our community? You're happy to respond in a baker's dozen to a scene of an incident. We've all seen it. We walk down the street, There's one person on the ground, choke police officers around, all their cars are parked there, and they linger. And I know you said there's probably more to that story, but I'm sorry, if there's one person, there's not 12 officers needed. And why is there 12 officers to begin with if we keep hearing you're understaffed? It's got to change. And so fortunately, Chair Finley, I've talked to him. My idea, which I hope we discuss and the board supports at our next meeting, is to establish a standing committee with the Honolulu Police Department of this neighborhood board, where we will meet with the police department for an hour once a month with an agenda posted, topics. And I don't think there's another government entity that has a more important relationship with Waikiki than HPD. And so I'm going to ask this board next meeting to support that standing committee. And I think the goal we're looking to is something Jacob Wincheck has been talking. Where's Jacob? He's a former member of the board. And I know this board's been talking about it forever, and that's actively patrolling. Let's be preventative and not responsive, because we know everybody knows police love to be responsive. Drive 100 miles to the scene, gather around that one person, get in a fight potentially, and even shoot your gun. I think that's why police officers become police officers, and that's not the right reason to become a police officer. The right reason to become a police officer is so you can walk the block 24 hours a day. Someone's walking the block, 3 shifts, 8 hours, and at some point you know the name of everybody who lives on that block. And I intend to use this committee and this neighborhood board, I hope in their support, to ensure within 6 months to a year, any of us can walk down the street of Waikiki and encounter a police officer either on foot or on bicycle every 10 to 15 minutes. I should not be able to stand on a corner for 10 or 15 minutes. I see you guys drive by a whole bunch of times, always driving by, but I've never seen someone on a foot. We had someone's hand get cut off at 7-Eleven. That is a notoriously bad 7-Eleven. There should be an officer walking from Hobron Lane to that. I think that's Anna Road. That should be the beat. I know it's not an attractive job to be walking blocks back and forth. That's what you guys need to do.
Daniel, could you
Thank you.
summarize? Thank you.
I'd like to address that. Thank you, Danny. That's actually really great points. And some of the things that I want to talk about, actually, and thank you for reminding me. So first off, about your father's case, that's very unfortunate. And I know we spoke offline about it, but send me the report number. I'll follow up with the detective, make sure that they get in contact as they should be. I'm not too sure if it was handled by District 1 officers or our District 6 officers, but going back to the culture, right? Exactly what you're talking about. So myself, Major Slater, Captain Gonzalez, we're all about changing the culture in District 6. And we're actually going out there, not spying on our officers, but besides our Monday to Friday, 7:45, whatever gig, we go out there nighttime, early morning, and we're watching for our officers. Both. So we will go both, just to make sure that our officers are doing our job. So that's something Captain or Major Slater recently got promoted, came to District 6 late last year, and we've been working to change the culture of the Honolulu Police Department in District 6 because, like you said, I'm a private citizen as well. I wear the uniform, I'm a lieutenant, but there are times when I have to call 911, and there are times that I experience bad service. And that's something that, as a private citizen, as a lieutenant, as a supervisor, I want to change that. My major wants to change that. My captain wants to change that. So that's very great points. And we already started increasing our bike detail because although I know you said foot patrol, but we believe that bicycle detail officers have more presence, have more quicker response time, can be more proactive than a foot patrol officer. So in the past, I would say 4 months, we ran 2 bicycle training where we certified about 40 officers between ourselves and District 1. So we can have our normal bicycle detail officers and officers that would be normally on foot patrol, patrolling on bikes. So we actually expanded our detail. It used to be a sergeant and 2 officers, late 2023. Now we have anywhere from 2 sergeants and 10 to 12 officers on bicycles at least 5 days a week. So we want them out there. When I drive out there, I see them out there patrolling, and as former bike detail sergeant, that makes me proud because it's something that I know how much impact the bicycle detail officers can do in the community. I'm checking their stats every week, and they're out there making not just positive, they're making positive PR contacts. They're out there in the community. I know some of you guys already mentioned that you guys seen them, but they're making arrests, they're making citations. So that's an impact that they're having on the community as well, right? And I'm glad you brought up about the the loud mufflers because that's actually our second quarter community concern project for Sector 1 and Sector 2, all loud noise violations. So we're also working with Council Chair Tommy Waters, Senator Moriwaki on some noise bills, but we're trying to enforce the ones that we have. So in a couple of months, I should have the completion of our second quarter community concern project. So we should be addressing more loud noise complaints to quell the complaints.
So, board members, any other questions for the? Yeah. Ken, please.
I don't think it's safe. You, the McDonald's on Hobron, Alamo. If you walk from there to the mall, across that bridge, you're taking your life at this. Because there's constantly, I don't know, homeless, 10 people, I don't know. But they didn't try to rob me. They just tried to hurt me. And the receptionist at my building, we got beat up too. And then I hear other stories. And then I've walked across that bridge twice since then. And the third time, there's some other guy who harassed me. This time I'm carrying a cane. But it's just not safe. Streets of Waikiki go from McDonald's to the Alamo Mall, 9:45 in the morning. There's crazy people. I mean, and the girl who got beat up, they didn't try to rob her either. They just beat her up, left her. So, you know, my ribs peel, but you got to be able to walk the streets, not worry about people jumping in.
100%.
Not tolerable. And the other thing I want to say, I said, hey Siri, call 911. I said, there's nobody to take your call right. You know, just, how come? Come, you don't have dispatchers taking 911 phone. Just don't get it. I've never been in a place in my life where 911 didn't operate 24/7. So, you know, someone's got to change it. And it need, you know what? You go there right now, arrest the guy that attacked me. See him sleeping on the bench there all the time. They got video of him. So, you know, there's no reason. It's just not tolerable.
I'll definitely follow up with the detective assigned and make sure that the investigation is followed through with. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure of the facts on besides what we just spoke about, but I definitely want to get to the bottom of that. I feel your pain on that. And I walk along that stretch with my family pretty much every weekend. And I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone of my family members. So I feel you. As far as we do have 24/7 dispatchers. I'm not sure how many are working at a time and how many call lines they have, but I can reach out to the communications captain who I'm good friends with and see what the situation was, especially with that particular case. So once you get me that report number, I can look it up. I can look at all the calls. I can look at what the 911 calls were, like what was said, times, the response times and everything like that. I can get back to you. But like I said, anybody who has any questions, I'm going to be your guy every month. So take down my email, barita@honolulu.gov. And you don't have to wait a month to come talk to me or have somebody answer your question. You can just email me. I work 5 days a week. And whatever concerns you guys have, that's my job. I'm here to answer that. I don't think there's anyone better in the district to answer your questions on that kind of stuff. So that's why the major sent me. But I definitely feel your concerns and I want to get to the bottom of it because I'm also, like I said, I'm a police officer, but I'm also a private citizen. And I would hate for that to happen to, you know, my family member. So I feel you guys' frustration. And I want to get to the bottom of that. Any other questions?
Hi,
Sorry. And, yeah. Go ahead.
okay, no, it's okay, but I don't know. It's, you know, post-Easter, people are a little stressed. Well, that's terrific. And I actually live on one block from Mr. Jacobs, so I understand that sense of fear, but 9:45 in the morning, that's, I'm shocked, like I'm really shocked. And I'm glad too that Daniel followed up and showed that, hey, you can get evidence. here's all the evidence you can get, here's all the videos. So it is possible. And one thing I wanted to say too, I'm sorry that this is, you're welcome to our board, but I really appreciate that they have a designated person. That's really going to be helpful, and welcome.
I feel welcome, so thank you.
Anybody else on the board that has questions for HPD? Go ahead, Melissa. Please use the mic.
Okay, so it's Barita. So my first name is Blake, like my last name is Arita. So barita@honolulu.gov. And I work Monday through Friday, so I'll try. If you send it on the weekend, I probably won't get to it till Monday. And but I'll get to it.
Any other questions from board members? Questions from audience?
Barita@honolulu.gov. And please don't send me spam mail though. Just genuine concerns. Thank you.
Jacob, quick. Use mic.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here, right? As Daniel mentioned, I do feel like a broken record saying that we need more community engagement. And I'm glad that HPD is moving to have more bicycle patrols. But really what we need is on the ground, walking the beat. There's no substitution for having that police officer or that pair of police officers walking up the street on the sidewalk, interacting with neighbors. That is an immediate, effective deterrent, even if it takes a bit more time. And I'm afraid that, with this focus on community policing, right, we're only focusing on Kalakaua, we're only focusing on the beach and touristy areas. I've never seen HPD patrol the side streets where residents live. I've never seen anyone patrol the Alawai Promenade, where residents walk every day, where there's cars sitting, sometimes waiting to be vandalized. There's 1,000 indignities happening on these streets to the residents of Waikiki every day. Every day when I walk my dogs, I see homeless and other people just throwing trash everywhere, doing drugs and selling drugs to each other. And, I'm not in a safe place walking my dogs to get on the phone to call 911. And by the time I am, everyone's moved on. And I can only give you a generic description of a dirty man, maybe 5'4", 5'7", looks very disheveled. And I'm sorry, that's not going to help you guys. But, HPD doesn't bear the sole brunt of what's going on. What we're seeing in Waikiki is a breakdown of governance that we see across the city, right? The city is unable, and I don't know, maybe at this point unwilling to do anything about the homeless crisis. Same with the state and our elected officials. There's just a complete institutional breakdown of getting anything accomplished and having the capacity to do so. And I think that's tragically, if comedically represented by the fact that when Ken called 911, told to call back later. That's just nonsense. So I think, and I'm sure we'll get to this later with our other elected officials, but there is a whole of government, whole of society problem here. It's not just HPD, and we all just simply need to get better, get more proactive, and we need to stop letting the ACLU terrify us into inaction with their pro-crime agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your observations.
So, yeah, I was going to pick up on Ken's last point that Jacob also referenced. I mean, how is it possible that somebody called 911 and couldn't get through? And I'm just wondering what assurances do we or anybody else here in the community have that, God forbid, we have a heart attack and we're laying there in the street and we call 911, that we're not going to get some kind of recording saying, sorry, all circuits are busy, or you reached a number that's not in service. I mean, what kind of assurances do we have that is an aberration? Or can you speak to that?
I can't really speak to it, but from my experience calling 911, I mean, there are times because ultimately there's a limited number of people working, and it depends on the amount of calls coming in at that time. So sometimes in that kind of case, if multiple people are calling 911, even for the same incident, like if I start having a medical emergency and I say, call 911, and she calls. Yeah, so not everybody's going to get through. So hopefully somebody eventually got through, right? Because obviously police showed up. But there is a limited number of people because like HPD, our same dispatchers are also like any other business, I think, in the world right now, they're having problems hiring staffing, because there's other options out there, right? But, there is a limited number of people working, as there are police and any other profession, limited number of telephone lines available. And it just really depends on how many people are getting, calling at that time. And frequently in my experience, when I call 911, sometimes I'll be like, oh, somebody already, like, I'll get to the dispatcher, oh, there's somebody fighting or whatever. And then, somebody else already called to the dispatcher, like, oh, we already got that call. Or, oh, there's a car crash. Oh, we already got that call. So thank you. So hopefully that's the case, but I'm not too sure how many people are working at a time, but I can definitely ask and see. But of course, I think it also varies on their staffing levels, what time of day and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll double check, but I think it's almost the same. People calling sick or whatever, and they try to have a minimum amount of staffing, but again, it varies. But I'll double check on that.
Thank you. I don't see you. Yes, sir. Please use the microphone over here.
So I'm moving to another subject, which is mufflers. Are we ready for mufflers, or are we going to do more of the other thing? Okay. So it's kind of amazing that one, right? I mean, I just sit on my lanai, and my wife and I just go, there they are again, every Friday, every Saturday. If you guys aren't hearing that, I mean, I don't know where everybody is. So when you say there's going to be a thing happening, that's good to know. Have details? Oh, sorry. Do you have details yet?
Well, basically, we're gonna be posting officers strictly to do that. Because honestly, a loud muffler versus a violent crime, we want to take care of the violent crime, right? Well, yes, we want to do both. But when it comes down to prioritizing things,
No, I hear what you're
I
saying,
mean,
but
realistically,
so
sorry.
I get the aspirational aspect
Yeah.
of we want to do this thing, and that's good.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, is there actually a plan? Is there like a like schedule? We're gonna do this at this time, this many people.
Well, it's gonna vary depending, but come back to me in about 3 months when we're finished with the community concern project. And if we don't have results, then we can discuss it. But
Alright.
hopefully we have more results because we're actually focusing on it, right? Like as a real thing. Exactly what we're doing with the loading zone violations and the Kapahulu traffic safety. We got a lot of results based off of that. And also thinking out of the box type of results too, right? Not just enforcement or just tag everybody. We're talking to DTS and we're talking to business owners and things like that. So it's not just enforcement. And like I said, they are trying to come out with new laws, new bills and stuff like that to come up with different angles to enforce these kind of issues. But yeah, I understand one is an issue or one is a low number, but again, compared to a violent crime or something like that, or if we have a minimum of 10 staffing officers per watch, that's what we want to address first, right? Realistically.
Thank you. Don't see any more hands. I don't see any hands on WebEx. Lieutenant, welcome to the Waikiki Neighborhood Board.
Thank you. Great questions. I appreciate it. I appreciate the conversation.
Next, we have Dominic Diaz from the Board of Water Supply.
Good evening, Dominic Diaz with the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. As we head into summer, I will do my broken record thing and remind everybody to be mindful of water use. April 14th to April 20th is Detect a Leak Week. So the Board of Water Supply is encouraging everyone to check your home, check your residence, place of business, look for leaking toilets, dripping faucets, anything you can fix to help conserve water as we head into the hot months. We appreciate that. Hardware Hawaii and Board of Water Supply are partnering in observing Detect the Leak Week on April 17th. I believe that's a Wednesday. We will be at Tamarind Square. They're on Bishop Street. We'll have some informational booths. There'll be some games, prizes, question and answers, some handouts related to water conservation. We didn't have any main breaks last month, so happy to report that. We currently don't have any construction active or scheduled in the near future for Waikiki. So I'm here to take any questions on behalf of the Board of Water Supply.
Questions for Board of Water Supply? Jacob, you already had your turn. Please.
Thanks, Chair. I promise this will be a quick one. I saw some in the news over the last month about Board of Water Supply drilling new wells to compensate for the still ongoing Red Hill issue. And there's a lawsuit filed against the Navy to pay for the $1 billion to pay for that. I was just wondering if you have an update on that or if we're going to be charged higher water prices to drill new wells. Thank you.
Sure. I don't have any updates on the lawsuit itself. I believe they do post any updates on our website. So if you go to boardofwatersupply.com, there will always be, updates there on any testimonies offered, responses, and updates on the active status of that lawsuit. In terms of drilling wells, we are actively in the planning phase, as well as some construction of it. We've gone through the planning environmental phase for some well sites. So we're drilling some exploratory wells. And based on the pump test there, if everything proves out, we will move to the environmental planning phases to turn those into production facilities. There are a number of sites. We're still exploring options, throughout metropolitan Honolulu, especially in the Halava area where our sources were most impacted. So looking for, potential well sites far enough away from what may be a plume, or remnant contamination related to the incidents at Red Hill, whereby we can make up that difference. We are currently making up that difference with just some operational changes in how we pump at other facilities. Fortunately, our systems are integrated that we're able to move water, for the most part across the island. So we are able to supplement areas where we lost sources with increased production in other areas. But ultimately, we would like to have sources in place to, fully replace what was lost there and be able to accommodate any new growth projected throughout the city. Water rates, there was a recent rate increase. It was, twofold. The lawsuit basically looks to recuperate costs the boards incurred related to what we've had to do to replace those sources. The rate increase would have come regardless as a result of escalating construction costs, planning costs, and the need just to replace pipelines, repair reservoirs, install additional storage throughout metropolitan Honolulu, where we have a deficit in daily storage. So the rate increase and the lawsuit are somewhat independent in how they affect our capital spending. I don't know if hopefully that explains what you're looking for, but if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any other questions for Board of Water Supply? See nothing. Dominic, thank you.
Thank you.
Last month, I asked Ken Jacob if he would consider being a timekeeper for us. But with his injuries, I'd like to defer that till next month, unless you guys have a great objection to that. Don't see any objections. Ken, you can? Like a motion to appoint Ken Jacob as our timekeeper? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Show you, man. No problem. And if it gets to be too much, let's just, if it's too much tonight, just take it easy. Don't want to call 911 again.
Anyway.
I think I made the motion. Sarah made the second. Next on our agenda, we have citizens' concerns not covered in the regular agenda. Resident people in the audience, do you have something you would like to bring to our attention? If you do, please, lady in the pink jacket, could you please go to the microphone over here? Please identify yourself if you would.
My name is Sally Manglickmott, and I'm a resident in Waikiki. I am once again sharing my concern and my hope to see a bill introduced by the City Council to stop trash pickup as early as 3:00 a.m. Many like me have expressed our concern for a couple of years, and as you know, many others have voiced their concerns to this board for 20 years. It is very disheartening that the City Council allows this abuse to occur. Board members received information recently indicating that many comparable cities in America don't start trash pickup until 6:00 a.m. Waikiki is possibly the largest residential community in America that allows trash pickup as early as 3:00 a.m. Last August, there was a rally in Waikiki to let City Council know that this abuse must end. Only 2 of the 17 board members attended the rally. Yesterday, each member received an email invitation to attend the Hawaii Dignity Day event this Sunday, April 14, at noon at the Duke Kahanamoku statue. Information about the event can be found at the www.hawaiidignityday.org. Respect for human dignity must be the highest priority of City Council. So I hope to see all 17 members Sunday at the event. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Hi, everybody, John Dutzman. First, what Daniel went through, and Ken went through, I take it personally because I spend like 3 hours a day trying to make this place safer. The fact that 911 didn't answer is unacceptable. That should be investigated in person, charged, fired. That's my take on that. The guy who attacked him, if those facts are correct, is a felon. That's assault on the elderly. So if you keep on throwing out this term homeless, because everybody goes, oh, homeless, oh, well, he could do that. That's the attitude. Let's be honest, that's the attitude. The guy's a criminal. Now, I believe that anybody who wants a home and comes and asks for it has the right, a constitutional right to get housing. Okay? That's called the right to housing state. But all of this nonsense, I guarantee that guy under the bridge has a record. $10,000 that guy was asked if he wants shelter over and over and over again. He said, no, 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 no. Okay? Guaranteed that the guy's got a record and has been arrested and he's out and he's out and he's out. We have a guy, despite all of our improvements, who's been arrested 18 times during Safe and Sound. He's a qualified habitual property crime offender. Oh, everybody's afraid. He's homeless. Oh, no, we can't put him in jail. He's a criminal. If you're a criminal, you go to jail. There's no cure, $10,000 reward to anybody here. Find me data. Any cure for antisocial criminal behavior. It does not exist. Bring it to me. Bring me the data. Bad guys belong in jail. That's what our problem is. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Kim, did you have something?
Yeah, good evening. I feel your frustration. I've been threatened. I've been punched. I filled out the police reports, knew who did it. Goes to the prosecutor's office, they don't file charges. So frustrating. You want to just go home and get a gun and come back. So on that note, I have sympathy for you. Happens every day in Waikiki. Every single day. John and me have been tracking these people for 3 years. The public's got to wise up. The pendulum for this sympathy for these people that are evil. They're evil people. So whatever virtue signal that you want to pass on to make you feel better isn't doing any good. It might make you feel a little better. Oh, I'm such a good person. I have sympathy for it. But John, we got the data. We got the facts. As a collective group, everybody needs to rise up, tell our elected officials that we demand action. Not just ask nicely, year after year after year. I hope you all take it, got a live example right here, but it happens all the time. I see it all the time. And I didn't get up to talk about this, but got my passions flowing. The real reason I got up is we had a problem last fall and concerns with too many street closures in Waikiki, with parades and festivals. And now we're into April and there hasn't been any movement. I hope you guys will consider maybe pushing this a little harder. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tim. Any other members of the audience? Sir, do you have something new?
Okay, so my name's Rand Burke, B-E-R-K-E. It seems trivial, but it's kind of important. It's chickens. They're a pain in the ear, let's say. And so I called on it, and it appears that there's an agreement with Sandwich Island Pest Control. And if it's a homeowner, you can pay $375 and then you get a subsidy of $150. So that means that you're getting very expensive chicken. And it's really, I don't know who's going to do that. Now that's fine if you're a homeowner, property owner, and you have direct responsibility or authority to do something about the chickens. If you're in a condominium and there's loud rooster noises going on in somebody else's property, you have no authority. If it's on public lands, you can get authorization from somebody. I was told maybe an elected official. The guy I spoke to was rather vague about that. So that's the next step. So I guess if that's the step and everybody feels good about that, I'm cool with it. If the city wants to waste $525 to catch one errant bird, I mean, that's silly, but that's what they can do. But here's the other problem with that. If that noisy bird who's in the public space isn't getting attended to and then goes into private land, like, you know, the area over here, I guess, are they calling it, I guess the jungle or the truck lots or whatever, those big empty spaces. Once it goes onto that lot, I have no control over it, except to listen to the rooster go on endlessly. So I'm just mentioning it because I think there's a better solution. And I don't know what you guys can do here, but this is the forum to gripe, and I'm just going to bring it out there. And I don't know what we're going to do. Somebody talk to me afterwards, please. What we can do about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? Yes. State your name if you would, please.
Gloria Steiner. And I just want to kind of piggyback first on him being attacked, because I've been attacked twice. Once on Kapahulu and once in front of my building on Liliuokalani.
Sorry, I can barely hear you. Speak a little bit more.
I said, I have been attacked twice, once on Kapahulu and once on Liliuokalani. So I understand your concerns about people and being attacked. The other thing that I wanted to address, would like somebody to address, and I don't know who it is on Liliuokalani Avenue, across from the Hilton, a sushi spot has opened up. They have a grease container that for whatever reason, it sits in the street right there on Liliuokalani, and it stinks, and people put their poop bags on top of it and all kinds of stuff. And I don't know whose responsibility it is for that. So I'm bringing it here and hopefully somebody can do something about it. Thank you.
Wait, can you tell me, what's the sushi place called again? Do you know the name of it?
The sushi spot.
Oh, it's just called Sushi Spot?
Yes, it's on the corner of Lilia Kalani and Kuhio.
I see Laura Ruby has her hand up on.
Yes, I have two announcements. One is, they're both for, resolutions to be presented, at the board meeting the next, month. I don't know exactly what happened, but the, resolution to keep the College of Education at UH in its configuration that it's in now. And, as you might have heard, the president of the university suggested that be made into recreational, retail and after hours cafes or something like that. This is not acceptable to almost all of the people that have any association with the College of Ed. There is we did submit the resolution for this time, but we didn't hear back from you folks, so we hope that it will be on for the next one. We'll resend it again, and it's Helen Slaughter that's going to present that. So I just wanted to mention that to you. Second of all, the other resolution, an entirely brand new one, is a environmental impact statement or study statement about the canal space that is both on the Mauka and the Mackay side. And if reminding you people again, a full EIS is it's a paper product. It's research and it goes onto paper, and it allows people who are doing anything in that area to have to conform to those particulars. So that's all I have to say. So both of them, I would hope, would be on the agenda next time. Chair Finley, will you be able to put those on, please?
Next agenda is fairly full, but Olive can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other citizens' concerns? Seeing none. Oh, I have a citizen's concern.
Sorry. I noticed you changed the time. You have a timer now, right before I speak, right? Sorry, Bill. Sorry.
2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. Before I introduce myself, I just wanted to ask, is the governor's rep here tonight, Mr. Oka? No? Sorry, during the meeting, before the meeting, I had a conversation and he was looking for that person. I don't know who he is, so I thought I'd just announce it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lloyd Yonenaka. I am the Executive Secretary for the Neighborhood Commission. My office is the Neighborhood Commission office. I run the office and we manage all of the neighborhood boards on Oahu. And it's worked for me. Thank you for the opportunity. And I got about 2 minutes left, right? The reason I'm here tonight is very simple. I just want to remind the board, not only this board, but all boards, purpose of you being here. The entire board system, the entire neighborhood board system is about providing the opportunity for the public to meet and talk and work with their government. It is not about you as board members. It is not about this board. It is about them. Everybody here. That's why I work. That's why I got a job, because of you. And I want all of you to know that this is your board. It's not the other way around. Okay? I say that because there are times we talk about things among ourselves and we get involved in situations that should not happen. We get too personal. We get too involved in the weeds. And what we need to do is not talk and argue among ourselves. What we need to do is ask them, what's the problem? How can we help? 30 seconds more. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. You are the reason this board system exists. Hold them accountable. Talk about what you want to talk about. And if it doesn't happen, give me a call. Okay?
Just a question. Can I go to like some board meeting in Pearl City and hijack the meeting like every week? Because we have that goes on here. I mean, maybe I could do that for fun. But aren't you kind of supposed to be from Waikiki? I was thinking of going to the beach and like wasting their time.
Well, I would hope that you don't go to Ever Beach and waste your time. It's a really long drive. I am also hopeful that the people that want to provide testimony at this board that don't live here, just provide written testimony or be very quick about their time and do it in 2 minutes. It is not restricted to only this area. But I think, as you all know, there has to be a certain amount of respect that you have for the board next door, or the board down the street, or the board across the island. You know, and if you have something that you want to discuss with them, hey, ask them, can I? And then I would just provide written comments. You know, but the point of it all is, I really want you to control this meeting. I want to hear what you say. To me, that's the only thing that counts. The neighborhood board system was built for you. It was built for the public so you can talk to the representatives here. You know, Council Chair Waters is here. We got the governor's rep who's supposed to be at the Board of Water Supply. We got mayor's rep. It is for you to tell them and have an interaction about what is important to you. Now, getting back to your stuff, we're last. I would ask all of the board members, respect the fact that you are going into another area and you should be as brief as possible. Please do not hijack any meeting. I would worry about your safety in some places too. So, yeah. Anybody else have a question? I'm being very abusive towards your time limit. Sorry, Chair. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, you had an incident there where some meeting was shot up or something like that, and everybody went nuts. Oh, I can't, I need therapy, I need this and that. And it seems to me, listening to what's going on here, laws are on the books, but they're not being enforced. How do you get about that? And can you incorporate Waikiki? Done. Why can't we incorporate, take on these issues ourselves directly?
Yeah, thank you. Just to give you a real quick update on what he's talking about. The last meeting we had was the Kalihi board, one of the Kalihi boards, and it took place at our offices in Kapalama. And what happened was there was an individual on the outside who threw rocks and other debris at one of the big glass windows. He ended up breaking it. Obviously, if you don't know what's happening in the next room and it happened in the next room, it does cause a certain amount of panic. So there was a lot of stress going on that night. They did catch the guy. For whatever reason, he didn't leave, he came back. So the police was there. You know, and I got to give the credit to the police. They were there in like 5 minutes. And it's possible because it's the rail is running through there that they have police officers anyway, you know, around that area. But to answer your question about what can be done, I have no idea. I mean, I'll be real honest with you. I listened to everybody here, and you know, and the challenge for me is when I hear your issues and I hear the issues here, if I get involved, I'm going to start asking questions, and that'll just irritate you to no end, right? Because I got to catch up to where you're at. Right? I don't have that history, but I can tell you, and you know, real honest, I work for the city. I'm going to defend the city anyway. But at the same time, I just know when I work, our office is right next to the police recruiting guys. Okay, so they recruit there. They bring all the people in, they give them tests. I know they're shorthanded. They're really, really shorthanded. What's worse is when they bring people in, and they bring 30 at a time. So I talked to the police guys, and they says, "Oh, you got 30 guys in, great. So when you get 4 or 5, you're good." He says, "Lloyd, if we get 1, we're happy. Out of 30 people, if we get 1." Okay, I got to go. I got to respect your time. And you guys have a big agenda. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Catherine, you have a question?
This is for Lloyd, so Lloyd, don't go too far. What I believe I heard you say, sir, is that if you're not a member of, let's say, the Waikiki community, and you're attending this board meeting for whatever reason, do not take up the time by trying to interrupt and have long conversations, but rather present written testimony. Is that what I heard you say?
What I would ask you to do is this. I would ask you to respect the fact that they have an agenda. Let them run their agenda. If you have an issue that you would want on the agenda, you can ask, like you did, ask the chair. I would also ask one of the board members, because the rule is very simple. If a board member asks the chair to put something on the agenda, they have to put it on the agenda, or they have to put that question on the agenda. What I'm asking you to do is to look at it from the standpoint of they have an agenda, let them run their agenda. You can come in as the public and speak, be aware of the 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes now. All I'm doing is asking you to respect their meeting and how they are running it, what their agenda is. What I would ask you, if you really wanted an agenda, ask one of the board members to put it on.
Well, the question being, and excuse me, I am a board member. I just am ill. I can't attend, but the question being is, can somebody from an outside community ask a board member to put something on the agenda even though they're not in our community?
Yeah, you can ask that. It's up to the board member if they want to. But you can ask just about anything.
But that doesn't mean we necessarily as a board have to hear it.
No, it
Thank
does
you for
not.
thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Lloyd. Do you want to run the rest of the meeting? I've gotten it. You can. Just, thank you. Next on our agenda, we have public events. Saturday, May 4th, from 6 a.m. to noon, will be the 45th annual Visitor Industry Charity Walk. It's where not all, but a lot of the people that work in the hotels and in the businesses go out and they raise money. This year, I think the emphasis on the charity is Maui, for summer relief for Maui. So they will be walking around the street. Please don't, the police control it. They're normally on the sidewalk or very close to the curbs. Saturday, May 11th, 2 p.m. to midnight, the Le'ahi Festival. Monday, May 27th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. The Shino and Lantern Floating event at the Ala Moana Beach. That's Memorial Day weekend, where if you get in touch with those people, you can put the name of one of your deceased relatives on a little boat and then they float them out. That's in the Ala Moana Park area, but it does impact traffic in Waikiki. So that evening, if you're going to the Ala Moana Center, you might be stuck in traffic forever. Maybe we can take the guy who hit Ken and put him in the ocean. Anyway, Friday, May 31st, 7 to 10:30 p.m. We have the Troy Barboza Torch Run. And what that is the police department has a run with a torch and they light the Special Olympics event at the UH. Friday, June 7th, 5:30 to midnight. We have the 41st annual Pan Pacific Matsuri Ho'olaulea. So the street will be closed for the Ho'olaulea. Applications for liquor licenses, and there may be other events. Kapiolani Park is something I don't list in here, but they constantly have events over there. So check with the city's website if you want all of the additional events going on. Applications for liquor license, the May 2nd hearing, Aroma Cafe, that's got to be good. 2300 Kalakaua, and they're downgrading from a category 3 license to a category 2 license. I take it that means no heavy entertainment. Also on May 2nd, Umi Waikiki, 2233 Moa Road, asking for a category 1 license. Because the liquor commission is backed up, there a request for a special license for the Bluefish 226 Lures and a special license for the Waikiki House by Romer Hotel, 415 Nahua. And that replaces the old bar that was in at 415 Nahua. I don't know of any other liquor licenses requested. And they're on your agenda. So if you have concerns about those areas, please advise the Liquor Commission. Next, we have NOLA representing Mayor Blanchiardi, who I saw taking a lot of notes already. NOLA, welcome.
Good evening, Chair Waters and members of the Waikiki Neighborhood Board and residents. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be able to give some highlights from the past month and then also respond to some of the questions we had last month. So I just wanted to highlight, we have the mayor's monthly newsletter, which you can see on www.oneoahu.org/newsletter. But some of the highlights that are talked about in the newsletter are some of the topics that the mayor went over in his State of the City last month. And he highlighted his 5 major areas that he really is focusing on now and he plans to focus on in the future. And I think he said it in the media before, but his number 1 or maybe top 5 priorities, affordable housing, and public safety, of course, is a huge issue for the mayor and a big priority. And many of you, I think one of the responses I'm going to talk about is HPD. And of course, many of you are very familiar with our efforts to recruit more officers, uniform officers, and staff up HPD, as well as the other units, HFD and Ocean Safety and EMTs. The Department of Planning and Permitting is another huge priority for the mayors and getting that backlog down, homelessness, and then city services and trying to really create the kind of workforce that we need to provide the, city services and maintain the various city assets across the island for the residents. There are a couple other items, but I wanted to highlight. So one of my favorite things about the city is the Royal Hawaiian Band, and they're so wonderful. They play every Friday at the Iolani Palace grounds. But with the city's acquisition of the Waikiki Vista property, which is on Kapiolani, they have been able to provide a wonderful rehearsal space and a home for the Royal Hawaiian Band. And I believe it was formed in the 1800s, but they've never had a real permanent home. They've had like temporary places to rehearse at the Shell. So we're very excited and they're excited. So I just wanted to, I think there's a magazine at the back, the Generations magazine. It talks all about the band, but it doesn't really, I think it came out too early for the announcement about the official home of the Royal Hawaiian Band. So we're pleased about that.
Excuse me? No,
Okay,
that's
you have to rush
questions
then.
from board members or from the audience.
Okay,
If she goes too long, I'll let her know.
okay, let me know. You can cut me off. And there's a couple other highlights, but I did want to mention that on March 10th, the mayor was here. He was the grand marshal for the 28th Honolulu Festival Grand Parade, which was on Kalakaua Avenue. So I hope that went really well for everyone. Okay, so just to respond to some of the questions we had from last month. So there was a question from one of the residents about the repavement of the road at 2452 Tusitala. And that went to the Department of Facilities Maintenance, and they said that this is on their list of streets for resurfacing as part of the fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, and fiscal year 25 capital improvement program project, the rehabilitation of streets. And so the resurfacing of that street is on the list for repavement as soon as they get around to it. I don't know where it is on the list of priorities, unfortunately, but it is on the list, so that's good. Member Misakian requested to have a meeting with the mayor in regards to project permits at your condo association, and he has stated additional evidence of large projects not having permits. And so the mayor's office referred this to the Department of Planning and Permitting, and has given an email address, dpp@honolulu.gov, and asked that Member Misakian email the DPP staff on his concerns. Okay, the next one is the update on the high voltage line exposed at Pa'okalani Apartments. And Member Brown asked for an update on the exposed high voltage cable at 207 Pa'okalani Apartments, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so in February, we had given an update that the apartment building owners submitted a building permit application that was under review for cable fault restoration. That was the issue. So the update from DPP is that permit will be processed, and they expect it to be issued shortly in the next week or so. But they did give me a contact if you want to email directly. Xijing Fang. So I'll just spell it. XIJING.FANG @honolulu.com. I'm sorry, honolulu.gov. Sorry, GOV at the end. Yep. So if you want to just get updates on that particular one, it's the permit application. It's A2023-07-0100. Okay, the next question we had was about the no parking signs on the Mackay side of the dead end to Satala Street and Liliuokalani Avenue. And that went to Roger Morton at the Department of Transportation Services, and he will be conducting an investigation. And they said it's going to require a little bit of time. They need to do some site inspection and analysis of the traffic history, and then they'll make a decision, and they will let us know once that investigation is complete whether they're able to do no parking on one side of the street. There was another question about the packed buses, and a resident asked to have more frequent bus schedule or double buses during the evening rush hour for bus route number 13. And the bus that goes to Waikiki from downtown Kapiolani is packed with inconsistent schedules. So DTS responded, the bus route 13 operates between Upper Liliha and the Pu'unui area and the University of Hawaii Manoa. And they said that although ridership is heavy, during the evening rush hour, the double buses are not able to safely operate in the Pu'unui area due to the tight turns. So unfortunately, that route is not allowed to have double buses. They didn't really address the schedules, but I guess they're going to work on it. Try to make sure things are on time. Okay, the next question was about the Alawai collaboration. I believe this was in relation to the watershed project, but the resident asked, what is the Alawai Collaboration Organization? She wanted to know why she received an email which did not include important stakeholders such as the Alawai Watershed Friends by Sydney Lynch and Dave Watase, and Trees for Honolulu by Daniel Donnell. And we sent that over to DDC, the Department of Design Construction, because they are in charge of the Alawai Watershed Project. And they are not familiar with the Alawai Collaboration Organization. Now, I'm not sure we got that name right, but that's kind of what Anson I thought it was. So they passed it over to DFM Stormwater Quality because, you know, we're just trying to figure out who this might be with. And so we're going to wait for an answer from them for next month. But right now, unfortunately, I don't have a response to that particular question.
You might ask Rick Agate, who's a member of that organization, to get their leadership.
Okay.
It's been around for 25 years.
Okay, so maybe Rick, I'll touch bases with you by email. Okay, so the last question was an HPD question. Sort of the recurring question about the foot patrol, the comment was that District 6, well, they requesting more 24/7 foot patrol. District 6 currently has 6 officers and a supervisor assigned to foot patrol. The number of officers varies depending on available staffing. And so, so then I'm sorry. Okay, this is the response, prior response from HPD. But what they did was they did give an update to this request again. So what they have said is that District 6 is currently increasing police presence in Waikiki. They are focusing on expanding the bicycle detail. Currently, there are 15 officers assigned to the bicycle patrol. The number of officers may vary depending on their staffing, but they are assigned to patrol Waikiki at various times during the day. And HPD is saying that they have decided that bicycle patrols are favored over foot patrols due to the quicker response time, maneuverability, and improved visibility that a bicycle provides compared to patrolling on foot. So during the night hours, District 6 continues to staff 4 officers on all-terrain vehicles to supplement regular patrol officers. And they did say they're working on building the resources to provide a 24-hour bike detail that patrols several days a week. So I hope that's some improvement. I think they're working on hiring as well. New recruitment strategy. Okay, thank you. I think that concludes from last month.
Any questions for the mayor's representative? Seeing none there. Nola, thank you for being with us. Next, we have Council Chair Tommy Waters.
Hello, Chair Finley, members. Nice to see you all. How did the mayor's representative get away with no questions? Can't believe it. Anyway, we're right in the middle of the executive budget. It's a $3.6 billion budget. On top of that, we're considering another $1 billion in capital improvements. So that brings it to a total of $4.6 billion. Kind of a long process. We've been in long hearings, but we have every single director, including NOLA, who comes up and justifies their budget. There's 24 departments within the city, ranging from Department of Transportation Services, Permitting and Planning, Design and Construction, Parks and Recreation, just to mention a few. And it's a very timely process. So, but we are doing our due diligence. I did put a couple of things in the budget for this community, namely the surf racks, Tim Carey, Waikiki War Memorial. There's still money. The mayor still has keeping open the idea that we could someday redo the Waikiki War Memorial. The Alawai pedestrian bridge is still alive. And drainage problems on Keone Ana Street. One of the constituents called me up and said there was drainage problems there. You know, HPD, since I've been the chair, we've increased their budget by a little over $50 million. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. Crime, as the Nola just mentioned, public safety, along with affordable housing, homelessness, modernizing DPP, are shared priorities of both the council and the mayor. But like I mentioned, crime. So we have over 400 uniform officer vacancies now. It's about 427. It just keeps going up. One of the things that the council is doing is working with the mayor to do a signing bonus of $25,000 to join HPD. But it's going to be staggered. You get a small amount at first when you get through the recruit or into the recruit class. And once you pass the recruit class, you get another a bonus. And then when you pass your probation period, you get another bonus totaling $25,000. But we're hoping to get people to sign up and join HPD. There's 2 recruit classes. I'm not sure if the lieutenant talked about that. I walked in halfway through his testimony, but there's 2 recruit classes that are about to graduate. They started with 100 recruits. I'm not sure how many actually made it through the recruit class, but hopefully they come out shortly and come into Waikiki. Typically, that's what happens, is my understanding is the recruits come right out and they put them right into the city. Okay, that's it for now. I'm open to questions.
Oh, my goodness. Board members first? No board member questions. John?
Hey, John.
I mean, I say this with all due respect, you know, I love you and vote for you, but I've been at this 3 years. And I think the public is being hoodwinked by all of you guys with, we keep on, we're going to work on homelessness. Okay, we're going to work on crime. And the reality, if you study this, like I have for 3 years, you can't force anybody to go to a shelter, to go to medical treatment, to have mental health treatment. Okay, and nobody in this community who's in leadership likes to keep anybody in jail beyond a day or two. It's an impossible situation right now. We have testimony under oath that 1 out of 20 homeless people accept help. We have testimony under oath by Connie Mitchell that there's always openings at these shelters. So this nonsense, oh, we need housing, we need housing, that's not true. But every budget year, oh, we need more housing. We need more money for treatment. We need more money for homeless. It doesn't help if they refuse. Doesn't help if they refuse.
Yep, I completely
So
agree.
it's
John.
an impossible situation. So my concern is, my concern is that there's this ongoing promise, that there's this magical fix out there for rehabilitation. Not true. There's an ongoing promise that you're going to get all the homeless people off the street. Not true. I believe that anybody who wants a home should get one by law, but it's ongoing
I
misinformation.
hear you, John. You have the stick and you have the carrot, right? The carrot's not working, is what you're saying. By asking people to go there, they'll say no. Plus, these folks have mental illness or substance abuse problems, and they don't want to go into a structured lifestyle, right? So, fortunately or unfortunately, we have 2 of our representatives from the legislature. Criminal laws are passed through the Hawaii Revised Statutes, right? By the legislature. We and the city council can do revised ordinances. We don't do major crimes. But one of the things I'm trying to do is to get mandatory mental health assessment and counseling, mandatory substance abuse. And I went and presented this idea to the judiciary, and they said, no, we don't want to do it. So I need your all help to say to these judges, hey, look, don't let these guys out on credit for time served. Because what happens, everybody? These guys get arrested for these petty crimes. They go to court, spend a night or 2 in the cell block, come out at court, and they get credit for time served, and they're right back out there. That's what you're seeing, John. And I thought it got a little bit better. But one of my concerns is that, talking to Steve Alm, your prosecutor, that the judiciary is not enforcing misdemeanor probation. You get out of jail and you're supposed to go and get treatment for mental health, for example. And the judges aren't doing it, right? So we got to band together. I have no control over the judges, by the way, right? We learned this in the 3rd grade, separation of powers. You got the executive, you got the legislative, and you got the judiciary, right? And there's checks and balances. So what we can do is make tougher laws, right? Mandatory sentences, as an example, yeah? But, you know, is that going to happen at the state level? I can't do it on the council. As much as I'd like to make mandatory sentencing on certain crimes, I don't have that ability.
Quick follow-up on that. You can't talk to judges here. I've tried. It's called ex parte communication. If you're talking about a case, it's illegal. I could probably go to jail. And just talking to them, they're not going to listen to you. So we're in a really tough situation. We have a guy like, look, things are 100% better here. I'm not complaining about Waikiki, what's gone on here specifically. But We have a guy who's been arrested 18 times during safe and sound. That's not safe and sound. And the judges, prosecutors blame it on the judges blame it on the prosecutors. My overall take on it is stop promising to solve things that can't be solved. Mental health, everybody brings up mental health. You can't force people to get mental health. A judge might be able to, but the success rate, even if I had the best psychiatrist in the world follow you around, if you were determined to need it, the success rate is 8%. 8. So the notion we're going to solve all of this is simply wrong.
Well, that's why I made a point when I first got up here is that we're supporting HPD as much as we can, right? I believe a patrolling police officer is the best deterrent to crime, right? And we heard from Nola about what's happening there with the uptick in bicycle police officers. But I think that'll help. But I don't have control over the judges either. But perhaps we as a board, as a community, to come out and you guys pass a resolution and we do a press conference and say, look, John, it worked. Remember when we came out with the mayor and talked about safe and sound? And I criticized the judges. I'm an attorney, right? So I know the legal community. It got back to me that the judges were paying attention to what this community said. And it did get better. But we got to keep that up, guys, and just say, no, we're not going to take this. Judges aren't elected, though, right? They're appointed and approved by the governor and the legislature. But perhaps, Senator, we could do that. Whenever a judge comes up before the Senate and up for confirmation, we say, hey, look, are you going to be soft on crime? Or are you going to be tough on crime? Right? But I'm willing to work with you folks and fight for that. And I agree with you. But at the same time, we got to build places for people to live, right? It's just a matter of how much we're willing to spend taxpayer money on that, right? Because, and then, like you said, it's a difficult thing to actually get people into housing. But thank you, John.
Thank you. Jacob?
Thank you for coming today, Council Chair Waters. You definitely, I like what you're saying about housing. We need more housing. We're in the midst of an unaffordable housing crisis. I think that's partially why we have so many vacancies in HPD. You just can't afford to live here on a policeman's salary, even with a bonus. I would encourage you and the council and the mayor to really prioritize making it easier to build higher density mixed use zoning here in Honolulu. I know there was a couple of bills working their way through the legislature that sort of got derailed, but there's still action we can take at the county level, and I hope you do. But I would also like to bring up Nola mentioned that HPD only has 6 billeted officers in Waikiki for foot patrols. That's just laughably unacceptable. We need to sell a third of HPD's cruisers so that way in the urban core, they're walking the beat, they're walking their foot patrols on. Like I said earlier, I appreciate the bikes, but HPD at this point needs to be forced to prioritize community in-person policing, not just having 20 cop cars show up to 7-Eleven because there's a sale on Spam Masubi's. It's just laughable. And then I do want to quickly bring up that I'm still very concerned about ongoing corruption issues within the city. Particularly, we've seen the latest drama of the Kealoha Kaneshiro trial, bribery, hitmen for hire, the works. It's a Hollywood drama. You can't make this up. I hope HBO turns it into a show one day. But more seriously, there seems to be very serious gaps with our city ethics commission and the responsiveness of our city auditor. So hopefully we can, you can lead that charge to really reform and make stronger our anti-corruption institutions, at least on the city level. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, sir. I'm hoping you can clarify for me. You said the issue was that the judges are giving them credit for time served when they wait for in jail for 2 days. So, but I mean, quite frankly, 2 days, 4 days, I mean, they're still going to be out. They're still going to be homeless. So that really isn't the issue. Just, they're getting credit for time served when it's just 2 days. So I have to agree with Mr. Deutschman about the issue of we need stronger laws. I'm an attorney also. So, and I used to intern for judges. So one of the things is judges have a limit of discretion. They can't just rule however they want. But, you guys set the laws and then they have some discretion. For the most part, they have to follow the law as you're stated. So really, instead of saying, oh, you need to get on the judges, why don't we get on the, lawmakers, make the law stronger, make it so the judges have to rule that way. Thank you.
Like I mentioned, most of the criminal laws are done by the legislature. The city council has very, very slim say in criminal laws.
I have one person on WebEx.
Yes, Chair Waters, there is a growing concern about the proposed bridge over the Alawai Canal. And I wanted to tell you some things. I'm requesting that you actually take that item out of the budget, the mayor's budget, at this particular time. And there's two reasons for this, important reasons. One is an EIS will be triggered and it will take some time to go through the process and do it appropriately. The draft EA is not an appropriate response to what's being done. And second of all, attorney Kimo Frankel is ready to step in to stop a Fonzie. So these would be reasons for why, if you take it out of the budget, things will proceed as they should in due time. Could you make any pledge for that, to take it out of the budget?
Sorry. I actually like the bridge. I think this community needs it, deserves it. In the event that there is a catastrophe, there's really only two ways to get out.
No,
I
no,
think that we need the bridge in order to,
no. If
for
I could
public
say
safety.
something, yeah, misinformation.
Thank you.
You sequester above the fourth floor, and second of all, a low bridge is something that you should consider. It's there's two different things, a bridge and what is this current design of the bridge, which has not been modified in months and months and months. So just to let you know.
Actually, you may be happy to hear that Councilmember Say, who is your representative, is pushing to modify the bridge to make it less.
No, I
large.
got it. Yesterday, I got that information
you.
from his office
Thank
and it
you.
was not a modification.
Thank you. We're running way behind, folks. If you haven't
Chair, I request permission. Chair? No, be quiet, Jacob.
You're on mute. We cannot hear you.
Chair, I request permission to speak.
We've got Senator Moriwaki on now. You can ask a question when she's making her point. I'm sorry. Me. Welcome, Senator.
Okay. Aloha, Chair, members. You have my written news report. I just want to say, you're talking about the Waikiki Police, HPD. I went to their review this morning, Manual of Arms, and they do have 100 officers, but they do partially, they have them in patrol. They're learning how to use the bike and ATV. So I know that the new major who's come in command, Major Slater, is very much interested in being present in the community. I think you've met him and some of the officers at the Coffee with a Cop. They're also doing a number of community outreach kinds of programs. And one of the things that was mentioned at the review, and I have a list of people who you know, Blake Arita, Jordan Cho, Ryan Yamamoto, Daniel Dasko. They have been recognized by Chief Logan because of their work in the community, because they mentor young officers. And so, you know, you've got to give them the support and the chance to really develop their team. But with the new commander, I'm very pleased that he's very much interested in being present in the community. In fact, the people who got these awards were not just internally selected. They usually do it internally, but he went out and talked to WBID, some of you, me, in selecting these officers who got these awards from the chief because they did so much for the community to protect us. So I do want to know that there are developments going on with HPD for our Waikiki district, and I'm really pleased with what they're doing. They are very effective with safe and sound. So I do want to commend them. I have a number of bills. I guess we voted, the Senate voted on all the bills today that came over from the House. They're going to now go back to their originating committees. And we will go into conference on, and John asked me, why are they all disagreements? We disagree pro forma because we want to make sure we go to conference and get the bills that we want out. So some of these bills have been passing through and they're not really, well, in my opinion, they're not very good bills. They can be amended. And so you do that in conference. So you see a number of bills that I put together for you that I thought might be of interest in crime, homelessness, excessive noise, condos, and kupuna, which have been of interest for this community. I do want to mention the crime bills because Councilmember Waters talked about this, the legislature is the body that makes the laws that are enforced by the counties. And we do have a number of crime bills. And one that John helped me with is the frequent misdemeanor, violent misdemeanors. And this is something that we've been fighting for a number of years to try to get something going. And we finally have a bill. It's very difficult to pass bills that are very law and orderish in the legislature. There are those who feel that we can't criminalize people, we can't go after people. And so you've got two sides of everything and many sides. So this bill is a frequent misdemeanor law. What the problem has been, as you have mentioned, is that they catch and release, because each crime or each offense and even if it's bodily injury against an enforcement officer or bodily injury or sexual assault, it's seen as a misdemeanor. So each time it happens, it's just a misdemeanor and a misdemeanor and a misdemeanor. So what this bill does is within a 5-year period, if you have 3 such misdemeanors of bodily injuries, now this is against people. We have the same law for property. We don't have it for people. So this law does that. And within a 5-year period, then they've added felony crimes as well. So that within a 5-year period, if you're caught 3 times with any of these assaults or other crimes, then you will be charged as a felon, a Class C felony. And so we start getting people, and at least it's a deterrent, get people who have been assaulting a number of our community. And hopefully this law will then be, we can look at and see how, and praise it and assess it and see how we can expand it, or if it's not effective, then we can amend it next year and the year after. So that is one law that we hope we can get passed, one bill we can get passed and signed into law. There are others that are, I think what happened in the parking lot when you're assaulted or robbed. We have a law now that says within the structure, parking lots of the condo, it's considered a unit and part of the building. So anyone caught in your parking lot will be, and if they're caught, they will be charged as if they were, it was a crime for the building and the building owner. So we're looking at, as we go along and hearing from you, trying to mend the law as we see that can be more effective. And again, it's based on enforcement, but if you don't have the law, can't enforce. So and we also have repeat offenses for driving without a license, increasing the penalties. We have finally some bills on excessive noise, which we've been trying for years. And it makes it unlawful to operate a weed whacker within 100 feet between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Sounds very simple, but that's also difficult to pass. So we have been working with the House on trying to get that bill passed. And there's also prohibiting driving motor vehicles having noisy mufflers. You know that they pass inspection, and yet after inspection, they then soup up their vehicle. So this allows the police officers to go after people who have noisy mufflers. It's just a strict liability kind of law. We also have a number of bills that are for the elderly, because there are a number of elders in our community, and a number of homeless bills. I think you asked about mental illness and co-occurring mental illness with drug abuse. We have a number of bills. One is to train crisis intervention enforcement officers. So our officers really are more aware of dealing with mental illness and or drug use, and what they call assisted community treatment. They can immediately, if they're a danger to self or others, can then take them to what's now developed is a behavioral health crisis center over in Ibilay. They can drop them off there. So even if they are not willing to go, if they are seen as being a danger to self or others, they can be picked up and taken to be assessed at the behavioral health center. And I also have a bill that is, well, we've had problems with it, but I'm trying to get some funding for it, which is a detox, what they call a medically detox program, which IH at Institute for Human Services has piloted with 8 beds and have found it to be very successful for those who are either on drug or on alcohol, substance abuse, and their detox. And this is a very costly procedure because it takes about a week or more for a doctor to be watching the person as they go through detox. And this has helped people to get off of their whatever abusive drugs they're using, and start becoming more human and be able to make decisions. And so part of it is the housing, because there needs to be supportive housing where a person can't just go back into the community and start all over again. So this alignment of services is really critical. And the legislature, although we put a lot of money into Lahaina, we've seen that these are the kinds of programs that have been very effective, but not funded enough. So we are looking at some of these programs to fund them. And so we'll see what happens. The budget is tight, but we are looking at a number of these programs because we really feel that this is a more effective way of using our money than the in and out of not only prison, but also our emergency rooms in the hospitals. So it's complex, it's difficult, it's costly, but all of us working together with the police officers, because they're being trained to be much more aware of the kinds of problems in the community. So they're becoming more social worky than just a police enforcement officer, which then doesn't correct the problem. So I think the community working together over the last 10 years that we've been trying different approaches is coming together with looking at laws, looking at programs, looking at the funding that's more focused on getting some of these people the help they need and off the streets. So I'm hopeful, even if some of you may think otherwise, it's one step at a time. And all of us working together to fund those things that are most effective. And not everything is effective. And we found that a lot of times we were funding programs and they would say, no, you can't come here because you're too disruptive. We're finding that if you're going to fund a program, they have to accept everybody. And so I'm on a soapbox, sorry. But those are the kinds of things we've been working on in terms of homeless, in terms of housing, in terms of crime and excessive noise, and some of the condo issues we've talked about. Yeah.
Thank you.
On your crime bill, Senate Bill 2347, I was up there and testified in person, as did John and others. The thing I was thinking about when Councilmember Waters was talking does tie in with what the public defender said. I mean, I support the bill and we all support the bill, but public defender raised the argument that the court could sentence people on the basis of a misdemeanor to longer than a short time. They could go up to 5 years. And then as he said, Steve Alm was saying, well, they just don't. So I guess the question is, could there be some conversation with the judiciary that we could try to convene? Obviously, nobody wants to influence a judge on any given case. I'm not talking about anything remotely approaching that, but I wonder if it would be helpful for perhaps you as the senator and other elected officials to have some sort of roundtable discussion with the judiciary where we can talk about sentencing guidelines and things like that, because there does seem to be this slight disconnect that as I understand it from Steve Baum, the main reason we need your bill is because the judges aren't following through on sentencing the misdemeanor defendants the way they currently have the authority. So, I mean, I still support the bill, but if they already have the authority to sentence somebody who's committed multiple misdemeanors, and so therefore they have a long record, and they're just not doing it, A, I don't know if this bill will solve that problem or not. I mean, it might, but B, why not? Why aren't they doing
The current
that?
law doesn't allow for it. It's just one misdemeanor after another misdemeanor. So each one is seen separately. So what this bill does is to say, look at the cumulative effect of it.
Exactly, so it
And
makes it.
so this is
No, I
why
mean,
it's
I mean,
different.
That's exactly what I
allows
said.
them-
What I said at the committee was, I mean, how many misdemeanors do you need to commit before the criminal justice system needs to recognize that you've got a more serious person on your hands, and you're not just talking about a misdemeanor offender? So no, I totally agree. But what I'm saying is why, I mean, could we have some conversation with the judiciary to see if they could increase the sentencing for misdemeanor defendants with, even if whether the bill passes or doesn't, seems to me that might be something to think about.
Any questions for the senator? John, you've had a lot tonight. We're running way behind, but yes, lady with the red. John, I'm sorry. I've insulted Catherine tonight too.
I just want to bring up, I've just been in the middle of a situation involving the courts and a lady she's partially homeless. She comes and goes out of homes and she has, I'm guessing dementia or something. But the court system, it wasn't the judge that was the problem. It was the prosecutor, because the prosecutor made the deal with the attorney before it ever got there. And the prosecutor did not talk to me, and I was the one, pressing the charges. And so it's not always the judge. I think sometimes it's the prosecutors that make these deals before the judge even gets it. The judge actually had everybody go out of the courtroom, and we had a frank discussion about this lady because the lady needs help. But her hands were tied because of what the prosecutor did. So just wanted to.
We could talk after. I would like to hear more.
John, I'm sorry, but what did you have to say? I'm just running a little, just running a little bit out of time here.
really quick, Lou, we discussed this, and Senator, judges do have discretion under the sentencing guidelines if a person has an extensive rap sheet to increase the sentence. So if they can say, wow, this guy's got, 20 misdemeanors in 2 years, which is average for a lot of people, they can. They do have that discretion. They don't do it. The public defender admitted that at our last testimony. One of the problems, though, is the sentencing guidelines also say, it's number 4 in the sentencing guidelines, you can't sentence somebody more than an average person with the same record and the same circumstances would be sentenced. So our bar is so low. I was attacked just like she was. The guy, they pled to 8 days. And the judge says 8 days, that's a long time for harassment in Hawaii. They've set the bar so low. The judges are obligated to go by that low average on a case-by-case basis. So that's part of the problem. I don't know how you get out of that.
Thank you. Anything else for the senator? Seeing nothing, thank you for the hard work. Appreciate it. Representative Adrian Tam.
Everyone. So many of you should have my newsletter right now. I'm not going to repeat a lot of things I would say. We're in conference. That's when the Senate and House come together to try to move to agree on the bills that have come to us. And I want to give you an update on 2 bills. Senate Bill 3234. I mentioned this the last time. This was the condominium insurance hurricane relief fund bill. We passed it out and it's moving to conference. And House Bill 2686, which was the same thing, but has now been turned into a study to look at other ways we can try to mitigate the rising cost of condo insurance and address the availability portion as well as the affordability portion. So that is my legislative update, along with everything that Senator Waikiki says. I'm really happy that I get to work with her. We work as a team. The next thing I want to talk about is that I was in the news talking about groins. I know that there was some concern that I was opposed to groins. That's not the case. What I said in the news was that I was unsure whether or not some groins should be placed in the areas, because I support what our friends at the Waikiki Improvement Association is trying to do. But, we should always look at any kind of groins being installed to ensure that it has the least negative effect on our environments. So with that, I open up to any questions.
Questions from the representative. Yes.
I'm sorry, could you tell me what was the issue with the groins and the Waikiki Improvement Association? Why are they involved with this project?
Oh no, I've gotten calls from concerned citizens that, they're wondering what I meant. That's all.
Other questions for the representative? Jacob, have you got 30 seconds?
It'll be a good 30 seconds. Thank you, Chair. I was profoundly disappointed that your colleague, Finance Chair Yamashita, killed SB 3335 to legalize recreational use of marijuana. Didn't even give it a hearing, just letting it die in committee, essentially. And given tonight's profound focus on crime, especially violent crime, and given Prosecutor Alm and the city police and other county prosecutors being very concerned with the use of marijuana, perhaps we should have legalized it this session so that way they could actually focus on what matters to the community. This isn't directed at you, this is directed at your colleagues, but perhaps next year we should legalize marijuana so we can put our priorities in order. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that all of you have gotten a survey from me regarding recreational cannabis. I made it very open and broad. I can tell you the results. It's 57% in support, and I think 30-something oppose, and about 7% unsure. To those that wrote unsure, they were unsure because I made it so broad, and they would be very supportive if it was a very well-regulated market. I'll be honest, the situation with Kyle Yamashita is that he didn't have the votes to pass it. Many of the no votes on the House floor were from members who sat on the Committee on Finance.
Any other questions for the representative? And I'd like to thank both you and Senator Moriwaki for taking time out during the session. Come down when I know that you're working late at night down there. Appreciate. Until you've been down there to see the legislature, you don't know how hard these two people are working and how many hours every day. So thank you both for being here.
Oh, I do have one more thing. So I want to invite all of you to the Capitol this Friday night from 4:30 to 7. We're having Art at the Capitol. It's a great way to engage in the civic process and to enjoy some of the art that we have from local artists from across the state.
So be there. It's a good Friday night thing to do. Anyway, thank you very much. Our governor's rep is not here tonight. Rick Eggett, are you here? And I'd like to thank Rick for his personal support for Senate Bill 2347. At the time, it seemed like it was hung, and he used all of his influence to try to push it onto the committee. So thank you, Rick, for supporting us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the compliment, Bob, but I really would have to credit Representative Tam. I think he was the prime mover in making sure that bill got scheduled for a hearing. I think Rep. Tarnas, in fact, he mentioned that he was only passing it out because Representative Tam had made it a high priority. We're talking about Senate Bill 2347. And so I attended that hearing remotely, and I was kind of horrified by some of the opposing testimony because I think if you realize that the way this bill is worded, it's a relatively small group of people who are going to be affected by this, but it's a group of people that need to be off the street. And so, and yet when you had these advocacy groups that were advocating for homeless, for prisoners, for any number of different things, and they kept saying, oh, this is going to be a huge cost in order to kill it. And I don't believe that. And in any case, I do, like I say, I do want to give the credit to Senator Moriwaki for getting it through the Senate and introducing it. But Representative Tam was really instrumental in making sure it got reported out of the House. So I want to give him a lot of kudos for that effort on his part, on our part. And so one other thing I'd like to bring up, and that is because Chair mentioned it before, but it's coming up this Sunday is the Hapalua, and till about 12 noon, there's going to be a lot of traffic issues in and around Waikiki down. It's an extensive area, the Hapalua and then back. So try not to travel during that time if you can. This Sunday, the 14th, it's early in the morning, I think 4 o'clock in the morning to 12 noon. And so if you can, and if you have to travel during that time, got to go to the airport, so they make sure you take a route around the surface streets because it's going to be very very difficult to get out. And so I'll stop there because I know next there's the presentation on the agenda is for the Hilton project. I just want to say from Waikiki Improvement's point of view, this is a really valuable project. I'm really especially happy that they're producing new hotel rooms for Waikiki. We actually have 4,000 less hotel rooms in Waikiki than we did 10 years ago. And that's because a lot of them have been converted. We have almost the same number of units, but they're in timeshare, they're in condo hotels, and this is new hotel rooms for Waikiki, which I think is a great addition to our product. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, next on our agenda, we have a presentation from Park Hotels, which is the company that owns the Hilton Hawaiian Village, about a new tower. This is their second information spreading presentation they've done for us. Is Rick mentioned. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair Finley, and good evening, members. My name's Jeff Overton. I'm a principal planner with G70. We're architects and civil engineers and planners. And we're very pleased tonight. We did meet with you in October of 2022. We completed our final supplemental EIS last year, 2023, and we're now here for a pre-application presentation to the board for the special management area use permit and the planned development resort permit modification. So we've got a brief presentation. Let me first introduce our folks speaking with us tonight. Attending from Park Resorts and Hotels, Senior Vice President Jonathan Hughes, in the center here, General Manager of Hilton Hawaiian Village, Debbie Bishop, and our main presenter is our chairman from Group 70, Norman Hong.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, Chair Finley, members of the board and residents and members of the community for having us here tonight. As Jeff mentioned, I'm Jonathan Hughes from Park Hotels and Resorts. I'm the Senior Vice President for Investments at the company. And I'm here with the team tonight to talk to you about our Ala Moana Hotel project at Hilton Hawaiian Village. It's on 3 parcels that Park Hotels has acquired over the last few years. We're very excited about it. And because we're a little behind schedule, I'll cut this short. Just thank you all for your time. Debbie Bishop, the Managing Director of Hilton Hawaiian Village, would like to say a few words before we begin the presentation. So thank you for being here.
Members of the board, I'm Debbie, and I lead the 2,000 team members that operate the Hilton on behalf of Hilton and Park Hotels. So we are truly excited about this opportunity and having additional hotel rooms and all it's going to bring to the community for benefits and economic support. And I really want to thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Norm so he can run through the presentation and show you what it's going to be.
Thank you, Debbie. Mr. Chair, members of the board and public. We're pleased to be here. This is a very exciting project. We presented it about 1.5 years ago to this group, but since there are a number of new board members, we're going to run through this presentation that is somewhat familiar to those who were here 1.5 years ago. So with that started, for those who were introduced, Jeff already introduced some of them, but in addition to that, we have others on our team that I'd like to show. Carl Mayfield, who is the Vice President of Design and Construction of Park Hotel. He couldn't be here. Tracy Camuso, who is also on the project. She's a principal planner at G70. And then we also have our legal counsel, Ivan Louis Plan and Wayne Fisher from Starno 2, Marcus and Fisher. And from the Bennett Group, we have Joan Bennett and Dylan Beasley, who are here. They are our media people. That helps. Okay, as most of you know, Park Hotels has been a very responsible citizen and member of Waikiki. They really support the Waikiki. Some quick numbers, they have 2,860 hotel keys with 2,000 team members supporting and working at the resort. They contribute significantly to the state and city revenues, as you can imagine, being one of the largest landowners in Waikiki. They support the numerous Waikiki organizations. I'm not going to go through those at this time. Public benefits. You all know the Friday night fireworks that they host, and it's a significant and very popular event. In addition, over the years, they have contributed significantly. They've restored the Duke Kahanamoku Lagoon. They've improved Kahanamoku Road. And they've also improved the city wastewater system from Kalia all the way down Ala Moana Boulevard to Kalakaua Avenue at a very significant cost. Hilton supports the directions that the tourist industry is going, which is the regenerative tourism future. And that means focusing the visitor accommodations in Waikiki. We all know the controversy that's going out there about transient vacation rentals out in the neighborhoods. This is contrary to that, and this is where the focus of visitor accommodation should be. They promoted educational and environmental community programs for visitors, and they attract and retain quality visitors. Their retention and repeat visitor count percentage is significant. These are good visitors who know Hawaii, love Hawaii, so they continue to return every year to Hilton. A significant part of it, they want to reinvigorate the Ever Gateway to Waikiki. Next. The site, as you can see here, is right along what we call the Ever Gateway to Waikiki along Alamana Boulevard. It's right here. And the site currently is occupied, next slide, by a number of older buildings, as well as a vacant Kobe steakhouse. And what you notice on this photograph here is that there's very little landscaping along that stretch. It stops at the Grand Waikikian, and then it's pretty much no landscaping until you hit the Kalia Gardens at the other end. Also, what you'll notice, and those who are in this neighborhood, they know this, that the sidewalk is occupied by cars. Loading is done on street because those operations don't have any off-site loading, and this project is going to correct that. Next. So this is a rendering of what it will be post-development, starting from the Grand Waikiki. And here, we will have a flagship ABC store here with a plaza in front of it where people can sit and eat and enjoy Waikiki, significant landscaping. Next slide. And this is the entry to the porte cochere to the hotel. And I'll touch upon that. This is a hotel and not a timeshare project. And again, significant landscaping versus what's currently there. Public benefits. One of the things that we are, Hilton Park Hotels is looking at is the existing Kalia Gardens, which is a beautiful area. We are looking at that park will be hosting a monthly public festival in that park area. And it'll be a festival where they will host and pay for the musicians as well as artists and artisans to have their artwork there, their merchandise there, and basically at no cost to those artisans. Someone mentioned earlier, we want to promote the art community, and this is really a significant part of that. In addition to that, they are going to propose some very significant artwork by local artists, whether they're sculpture or some other kinds of artists within this park area. Next. The design concept I'm going to go through is really quickly. The inspiration was a metaphor of what the ahupua'a of Waikiki is, starting from the sky, the clouds, the mountains, forest, the streams. And so what we have here is a 36-story building, tower, and I call that a soft building because it's going to follow the gentle curve of Alamana Boulevard. It will be more glass rather than solid surfaces and concrete so that it will be blending in with the sky. We will then have a podium which will have significant landscaping, and then also the ground floor will have significant landscaping. Next. Here's a site plan. Alamana Boulevard is here. The ABC flagship store is here with the plaza in front of that with some water features. The entry porte cochere is right here into an arrival lobby. And I would like to point out here that we are very cognizant about traffic impact. And that's in the EIS. But anyway, for our guests arriving and valeting or self-parking, they will be able to go and through this connection without going on to Alamana Boulevard, directly into the Coral parking structure. So there'll be no impact on traffic along Alamana Boulevard. In addition, the loading I mentioned previously, what happens now is those trucks are on the street blocking traffic that load currently. The loading for this project will be totally internal within the project site and under the expanded parking area. So it'll be totally confined internally so that any noise and disruption are totally internal and not to the exterior. In addition, we have provided the required number of bicycle parking as part of the required land use code. Next. This is just a quick rendering of the second floor where the actual check-in is going to be. Next. Another significant feature of this project is that at the 8th floor, which is our recreational floor, we are renovating and expanding the existing Kalia pool, and that will accommodate the guests from this new hotel. There's a rendering of that pool. Next. And here's another rendering. So it's going to be a very significantly sized pool. And as many people know, many of you know, the guests will go to the beach once or twice, and then they will come back and they'd rather stay at the pools. So we are accommodating that extra demand. Next. This is a kind of technical drawing, but it shows that we are going 36 stories. We are at the height limit of 350 feet, which is permitted. Of course, in addition to that, the code does allow another 18 feet of rooftop equipment. So we are meeting that height restriction. We are meeting the height transitional setbacks, street setbacks. So we are not asking for any variances for this project. We have the ground floor arrival lobby, check-in lobby at the second floor. We have 2 levels of parking that connect to the existing parking levels. We have a 5th floor that will connect directly into the level of the Coral meeting rooms. And then the 8th floor, which will connect directly to the Kalia pool, which I showed you earlier. Next. Sea level rise. That question came up last time we were here a year and a half ago. And 2 years ago, Hill Park commissioned a study by Sea Engineering to look at the impact of a 3.2 sea level rise. That is generally the accepted sea level rise number. And we are establishing the lobby level of the proposed tower at elevation 8, significantly above what the anticipated sea level rise is. Next. And here's just a detail of it. The lobby is at 8, the street Alamon is at 5. Okay. Next. Next, Jeff.
Thanks. We're just about wrapped up here. I just wanted to report on where we're at in the process. So as I had mentioned, we finished up our EIS process and of course the outreach that we went through the first couple of years. We are now preparing to file the applications for the special management area use permit and the permit modification for the planned development resort. Later would come alphabet soup. I apologize. Waikiki Special District, the WSD, would follow. You can see that we're hoping to complete by the end of this year with those land use approvals, city council, and then enter into design and permitting, heading towards construction latter part of 2025. But just kind of a quick time scenario. All this information is really well presented in our EIS and the upcoming applications. So with that, I think we want to say mahalo for your attention. Realize you guys had a full agenda today, and we're glad to address your comments or questions this evening. We've got a team here to pay attention to all those. Thank you.
Michael, did you have any comments?
Sure. I'm Michael Brown from Sub-District 3. I am a landscape architect and a design professional in the hospitality industry, just so you understand that for clarity. One of the things that I look at in our new developments in Waikiki is what's happening in the public realm. And aside from the building and its envelope and everything that's going on, from the back of that curb to the face of the building, what is the development doing for us, the public? You, me, and our neighbors? Is it enhancing our safety, our view corridors? Is it making our public realm, that space, more aesthetically pleasing? And so I would consider what I've seen on the plans here and talk to you about that the completion of landscape along a corridor is important for safety of pedestrians. It's important for safety of vehicles. And we should consider how noise is handled with parking, with loading that goes internal and takes those noises off the street. So all those are things to consider when you look at a presentation like this and plans that are prepared by professionals. And I just encourage you to think about those in your consideration of how you view the project. Thanks.
Thank you. I've got Catherine. Catherine?
Yes, if I recall, when you made your last presentation, you mentioned something about placing your security force in the front of the building, which would patrol the area in on the Ala Moana Boulevard that has been a problem for the businesses and, for instance, the Ilikai with drug dealing and crime. Is that still going to happen?
We're gonna have Debbie answer that.
Do that. And just to tell you how important it is, we do have our director of security here with us tonight. You know, that will all be incorporated with the security that we run in the entire resort, right? So we'll be addressing that. And thank you for bringing that up because there's nothing more important than security.
Yeah.
Hi, so this is my first time hearing this presentation. Thank you. It's well put together. Hopefully we can have these slides and so forth, additional information. Can we have it uploaded to our shared drive? That way, I would like to learn more about this because this was really fast. It was a lot of information. I have two concerns. My first concern is one thing about, we keep talking about there's no affordable housing, but I have to say, since being on this board, the two presentations we had one for timeshares and then this one for hotels. And I get it, it's great for the economy, but I just have to say, I'd like this board to kind of be on point. Like the public keeps saying, we need affordable housing, and this is what we do with the time here. That's one of my concerns. My second concern is I'm always concerned about the fact that there's a lot of money coming into Waikiki. It just doesn't stay here. There's a lot of money coming into Hawaii. It just doesn't stay here. So especially when you have businesses that are foreign corporations, or they are incorporated in Delaware, or they are not, because I did look up your company and it's actually incorporated in Delaware. So when we talk about taxes, when we talk about how much money we're going to make off this, my concern is, are we going to make that much money off it? Is there? So that's one of my concerns.
So if I captured your question, I'm sorry, there were a couple points you raised in there about affordable housing. We're really concerned about bringing resources in the community. And I know Hilton has been, a longtime partner in this community for decades, and helping to support causes that are really support to the broader community. So we've got committed partners here with Park Hotels and Resorts, and of course, Hilton Hawaiian Village representative. This is not a housing project. It's a hotel project. It hasn't been a major hotel built in Waikiki for well over 20 years. And so this will help reinforce what is, I think, our community's direction, focusing visitors to Waikiki, not into other residential communities, which actually takes away from housing in our community, right? So we want to have the visitors stay here versus an Airbnb out there doing a 30-day or less, which is not legal these days. So I can't answer all of your points here, but I think that's one major one we want to present.
Laura Ruby had something to say. She's got a hand up. Oh.
Yes, thank you very much. I enjoyed your presentation, and I value the fact that you went ahead and did a full EIS, and this is directed towards the board. Remember, full EISs are recommended for every single kind of development or building that goes on, and that would include the proposal for the bridge across the canal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rick?
Yeah, I just wanted to address Sarah's question, which is, I'm glad she brought it up because it's kind of a common misconception. Most of the money the visitors bring to Waikiki stays in Waikiki. Very small percentage of it goes back to the owners of the properties. Just think of the 2,000 employees that are being paid at Hilton Hawaiian Village alone. All that money is staying in Waikiki. And then what is, some of the other major charges are things like electric bills. All that money stays in Hawaii. And so the fact of the matter is that very small percentage of the total gross income that comes from any of the properties in Waikiki actually leaves.
Thanks, Rick. That's what I meant to say.
Just a sec.
I mean, I think I, I actually like the way it looks. And I do think it will improve the neighborhood. And I think also, I mean, I know some people may have concerns. I mean, when I first saw this a year and a half ago, I was a little bit concerned about, another skyscraper and so forth. But I also, I mean, as a lawyer, I do look at it and I think as far as I know, they do meet all the regulations that the law requires. And I think that if an applicant owns property and their proposed use conforms with every law that's on the books, I don't see how you could not approve it. I think you might not like it in your mind or whatever, but certainly as a board, in terms of being responsible, I think you have to say that the rule of law applies. And so, but beyond that, I mean, I actually like it. I mean, what's there now is kind of crummy, let's face it. I mean, it's pretty ugly and it's not a very nice entranceway into Waikiki. This does look a lot more aesthetic than that. I will say, I mean, I've lived here since 1990. And I mean, and I've always been a little bit amazed at how, even though Hilton does put a lot of buildings in there, they always have managed to do a really nice job in terms of preserving open space. And everything they've done has been kind of first class. And so I have no reason to think that this won't be the same as well. So I know that there were some concerns about the view plane from nearby neighbors that were expressed, at the last one. And I'm trust me, I'm not unsympathetic to that. But I think as a board, certainly, I mean, I'm willing to make a motion that we support the project anyway, and then let's see where the discussion goes.
So a second? Actually, let's go to the doctor.
A quick question from your last
Anything on-
presentation. I'm so sorry. Sharon. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
There was an issue was there something last time? I'm sorry, I'm trying to blank on specifics, but in regards to parking?
Well, we'd be glad to address parking question. Of course, Hilton Hawaiian Village has a tremendous parking garage, and most of us have been in there. It's always been scaled beyond what the land use ordinance requires for the property. They've always had a surplus of parking based on the ordinance. With this project, we're going to add approximately 5% additional spaces by work within the garage. We have spacing and plus some new parking spaces that are part of the development as Norman had presented. So we're actually going to increase the capacity of the garage to house cars. Not a big number, about 5% additional parking. Does that help answer your question?
I think there was a big concern in October 2022 for the parking, that there may not be enough parking for the new people, the new resources that you'll need as far as employees. And 5%, I'm not sure what that equates to. Yeah.
Okay, so there's some very specific numbers about the number of parking spaces and the addition of those. I think the point being, we're obligated to meet the requirements under the land use ordinance, right? And so that's something that we've been overachieving through the decades over these projects. We worked on our master plan for Hilton Hawaiian Village in 2011, came before the board, and thank you for the support on that project. There was parking added for the different projects that came in over time, and now we're adding an incremental piece. The land use ordinance requirements also changed where commercial projects no longer have to add parking, but we're still overachieving. We're adding more spaces. So it's approximately 5% of roughly what, 1,900 total spaces. Norm, you have the details here.
Now, let me get. Yeah, we are adding as part of this project, a total of 86 new stalls. 86, so that we will have a total of 1,917 stalls, which is 128 more than what is required by code.
Other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry, I should have, we have 515 rooms. Thank you.
Yes. Sarah, online.
Sarah Catherine, my last name is Goldsmith. I have two quick questions. The first is your slide says constructions in 2025. How long a time period is the actual construction expected to be? As sub to that, will you be using lanes outside of the property during the deconstruction and construction period before completion? And my second question is, it was nice of you to make it a glass building for fitting into the environment, but have you added into your environmental impact statement that this is going to catch a lot of sunset sunlight and have glare? Is that in your environmental impact statement?
Going to
So
have
there's
Norman
two
Hong,
things.
our chief architect on the project, respond.
Let me try to answer those. There's a list of questions. The construction period is anticipated to take 30 months, 2.5 years. In terms of the glass building, Waikiki does not permit reflective glass. It's part of the Waikiki Special District Ordinance. So we will have tinted glass. So there's not going to be a mirror-like effect on any of the neighbors. And so based on that, we believe that the any reflections on the glass will not be like a mirror, will not create that kind of glare issue. Did I answer all of the questions?
No, just what is the impact on existing traffic during the construction period anticipated?
Okay. Of course, any kind of construction, you are going to have some disruption. However, we are working with, we haven't selected the general contractor yet, but they are cognizant of needing to respect the traffic. There will be times at which perhaps one of the lanes will be blocked off for deliveries, but the traffic study indicated that the impact will be minimal during construction as well as long-term.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? Greg?
Just a quick comment. If we're going to vote to support this project, I'm not sure if it's proper to do that, and that's something our NA can maybe give us some guidance on, but it doesn't indicate that we're going to vote or there's a resolution or anything like that. So it's just a concern that the public doesn't have the full knowledge that we're going to do that for this particular agenda item. That's my only comment.
That's why I put it on the agenda, and I believe anything on the agenda can be voted on.
It has to be really detailed, actually, of what we're voting on. So it just says Parks Hotel project. It doesn't really indicate that we're in support, your board is in support of it. So I suggest we should just vote on this in the next one with you and to have more details. Is that okay? Or?
So basically, you want us to hold off till next month and vote and put more detail. Can you guys live with that as far as I know you flew in from the mainland just to make this presentation.
Chair, Chair,
Yes, Catherine.
I thought that we had already voted in favor of this project and this was simply a courtesy.
I think we're here to respond to questions. If there are remaining questions, I know we've been before boards in the same situation. And we do have Lloyd here, who's kind of head of the neighborhood commission. It's on the agenda for board business. If there are other questions, we're glad to respond to those, but we really. Yeah, well, that's an interesting point. We did public notice to all the surrounding neighbors on this as required for this process. So everybody within 300 feet, we actually expanded beyond 300 feet. So, everybody's had a really good opportunity to respond.
I guess I'm concerned, what's the urgency? I mean, we're going to have next month. I do agree with the sunshine law. You do have to have more details. It can't be just a presentation and then, oh yeah, we're also going to vote whether or not we support it or not. So why the press? Like, why do you want it approved today? Tonight? Is there some time frame issue?
Mr. Executive Secretary, can you give us a?
Well, first of all, they really don't need an approval. They need to be here and give a presentation, which they've done. Two, you really shouldn't vote on an approval tonight because it should be listed on the agenda as a resolution to support. You are correct, Mr. Kane.
Yes, and we'd be glad to return next month to attend if you want to have us on the agenda for that.
It'd probably be about a 5-minute presentation because we've already heard it. So we will table the motion. Is that the correct term? Postpone? Yeah. So we will be back next month on this and I'll ask them to provide who was notified in the neighborhood. Okay. Motion by the maker is withdrawn. Robert, do you withdraw? Okay. I am sorry I didn't put enough detail on this. My bad. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. We really, so just for a quick look, is anybody really opposed to this project? One. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm curious of what the occupancy rate of the Hilton is right now. 84%. So you got 16% more rooms built. And are these hotel rooms or timeshare? There's hotel room. I don't know how that's going to help the house, but.
Okay, we're running very short on time here. So I'll put it on the agenda for next month for the vote and then see you then.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Forget about that. Sharon already talked about it. One thing, 3 absence letters. Mr. Boyack, do you intend to remain on the board? You do. Is anybody opposed to Mr. Boyack remaining on the board? We don't have time for much more, but I will give you an update on traffic issues. The Kalia Road is going to be resurfaced by the Army. Starting around late December, January, depending when they can get their permitting in. So for those of you that use Kalia Road, phase 1 for 72 days, it will be closed. Phase 2 for 30 days, it will be closed. And phase 3 for 60 days, it will be closed. So anticipate a major traffic issue for 6 months around the Kalia Road area. It also sad to announce board member Dave Benson passed away, former board member. Dave Benson, he was a board member a few years ago. And District 3 members, please start looking for a new member for the board. Sorry, we have run out of time for anything else. Wait a minute. Anybody got corrections to the minutes? Any corrections to the minutes for last month? Okay. Anything else, just the time steps? Yeah.
I know we discussed last time, Chair Finley, but moving forward, when there's so for the public events, it's actually street closures for public events. So people were confused, come up to me and they're confused. So like, why is the time different? Because the times you quote are the times that the road starts to be closed until the top road opens up again. However, on the agenda, it just says public events. So if we could clarify that, that'd be very helpful.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand through your mask. Robert?
I'm going to ask the secretary if she could check the minutes from the last time the presentation, because I think Catherine raised a good point that we already voted on this.
Okay, so no other corrections? Okay. So based on that, thank you, everybody. Meeting is adjourned.